Welcome to a Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and I'm here for the next installment in our Edgar Allan Poe series. Emily did not join me for this one. She did not have enough time to get this story read. It's a little longer than most of the Poe short stories we've been reading. And so she just didn't have enough time in her schedule to get to it. So normally this video would be one with Emily, but not this time. The work I want to talk about then is called The Journal of Julius Rodman, and it is number 74 in my bibliography of Edgar Allan Poe. And it was published in installments. It was serialized, in other words, in Burton's Gentleman's Magazine in 6 parts between January and June of 1840. The interesting thing about this is that the 6 installments are the first 6 chapters of what was supposed to be a whole novel. There was supposed to be a lot more written. It never did get written. And the story that I found regarding that is that Poe had been working as the editor of the magazine, and after the 6th installment, he was fired from the magazine. But the magazine wanted him to continue writing the rest of the chapters of the book. He basically told them to go to hell. So he only wrote the first 6 chapters and stopped, making the novel incomplete, unfinished. So what is the novel about? The novel, and some of you will catch on right away what's going on here. The novel is about an expedition through the Rockies to the Pacific and back that was supposed to have happened in 1792. Okay. The novel was supposedly a true account. The book was supposedly the actual journal pages by Julius Rodman, a character in the book. There never was such an expedition in 1792, at least not anything that went all the way and back. The first successful expedition across the Rockies to the Pacific Ocean was Lewis and Clark, and I believe that was 1803 or somewhere in there. So the book, being written in 1840, long after the Lewis and Clark expedition, this is a hoax, which Poe did attempt other hoaxes in his fiction. What we now know is fiction. He tried to write what he claimed to be factual stories, but they were hoaxes. They were completely bogus. And Poe wasn't the only person who did this sort of thing back then. There were quite a lot of writers that wrote fictional works which they tried to pass off as true accounts. And of course, that goes on to this day, mostly in the horror genre. This story is, unlike a lot of Poe's work, this story is not horror, and there's nothing horrific about it. And it's not even like the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym. This is like a travelogue. This is like an old Disney Buena Vista school film through much of it. There's a lot of just description of landscape and description of how they're getting through. There's a whole section, and it's interesting, but there's a whole section where the guys on the expedition are just watching beavers build a dam, and it describes the whole thing of how beavers are building their dam. And it is interesting, but like I say, it's like a Buena Vista school film that I saw when I was a kid in elementary school. Lots of descriptions of landscape, beautiful descriptions. The writing is good. There are some adventurous parts, like when they encounter some Indians, although it doesn't get into a bloody battle. Um, the Indians basically try to steal from the expedition, and the expedition has a cannon along. They fire it at the Indians, and a handful of them are mortally wounded, and the rest of them just take off, and that's the end of the Indian encounter. And then there's an encounter with a bear. I think it's a grizzly bear. And they get out of that one. But that's a little tense and a little adventurous. And well, like I say, it's only 6 chapters long. That's all that exists. Nothing more was ever written because Poe got pissed off and refused to ever complete the work. So that's all that was done. And I think you can guess that I'm less than thrilled with this. I would only recommend it to the person who really has to read everything Poe wrote. If you're not that person, you're probably not going to be interested in this, especially since there is no ending. It cuts off. They're in the Rockies. It completes the encounter with the bear. It stops there. You don't go all the rest of the way. You don't come back. There isn't any more adventure to it because it was never written. And like I say, the writing is good, but a little bit dry. Could be more adventurous. It could be less lingering on the landscape. Or it could go into more of that and just give a lot more detail. But at the very least, it could have been finished. Never was. So I personally didn't care for it much. It had its good moments. I'm glad I read it, but I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. And I guess, and it's the fact that it's not finished that I'm really hung up on, that I thought I'd be okay with it, but what I got just isn't that interesting. And so I would like more. This is a really good opportunity since this is public domain now. It's a really good opportunity for a writer today to take this and run with it. Try to finish it. Either finish it as it was intended, as just a more realistic description of such an expedition, or take it into the fantastic and throw some supernatural elements into it. Maybe some supernatural Indian stuff. It's a great opportunity for somebody to take what Poe wrote, continue it in Poe's style, add some really interesting things to the rest of it, and make a really good book out of this. I think it could be. I think it has the potential of being a really good book. It just was never taken there. So if you've read the Journal of Julius Rodman, please leave your comments or any other comments you have about Poe. Otherwise, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Come on back. I swear Emily will join me for some other works, just not this one. I didn't want to wait for her because I wanted to put this up, premiere it on YouTube on the birth date of Edgar Allan Poe, which is what I'm doing. Friday, January 19th, 2024 is the anniversary of Edgar Allan Poe's birth. He was born when? 1809, January 19th, 1809. So more than 200 years since his birth. We're coming up on 220 years in 5 more years. So I hope you'll join me for the next one. The next Edgar Allan Poe it's a little story I've never heard of before, but it's there. It's called Instinct versus Reason, a Black Cat. And I'll drag Emily back into that one. That one's just a short story. And I hope you'll join us for that.